I'm on my bike trying to push my bike away, and I can see something coming up down there, and I'm going down the incline with full brakes and thinking, I can't stop this. We were going around the trail. The trail itself is about 7 miles long, and there's an uphill section, goes to a downhill creek bed area, goes up to the uphill and then a downhill again, fairly steep section, and then back out to the parking lot. Well, we're on the final downhill section. There's a 45-degree incline off towards my left, the single track trail, which is about 2 feet wide, a 45-degree incline off towards the right, and there's a rock sticking up out of the pathway. And I looked at the rock. I was actually being fairly careful at the time. I went around the rock to the right-hand side. Before I know it, my tire pops off the pathway, and I start going down the incline off to the right. And the last thing I remember thinking is, uh-oh. This is where I'm going to skip back about 2 weeks. And 2 weeks prior, just a regular night, and I have a dream. And in this dream, I'm lying in a forest. I knew that I was hurt, but I really didn't know what had happened. The next thing I know in my dream is I'm looking up, and I'm looking at the bottom of a helicopter with the rotor blades turning, and I'm hanging from this thing by a rope. The next thing I know is I'm being backed into a cream-colored tube with a red light going around. I'm on my back looking up, being backed into it. The next thing I see in the dream is x-rays of somebody's neck in C3 and C5, whatever that was the focus of this x-ray. And then at the end of the dream, it wasn't like I really heard God's voice, but it's like he gave me 3 really strong thought impressions. The first impression was, you're gonna fully recover. That was the main message of the dream. The second was, there's gonna be the right people in the right place at the right time. And the third is, I'll be with you through it all. So 2 weeks come and go. I was reminded of the dream on the Saturday. I thought about it, like, well, it's just a dream, I shrug it off. The next day, here we are out mountain biking. I'm on my bike trying to push my bike away, and I can see something coming up down there, and I'm going down the incline with full brakes and thinking, I can't stop this. The guy right behind me saw me go down the incline through a 6-foot gap in the trees and just disappear. As he made his way down the rest of the trail and went back 300 feet to where I was sitting at the bottom of a 30-foot cliff holding my neck. The best thing that we can figure was I went over the cliff, most likely went forward, most likely landed right on the tip of my head, and then my neck went down, snapped C2, and the rest of my body tumbled after that. So we're walking back out towards the trail as I'm holding my neck. Walking back up the trail in the opposite direction, there was a nurse, and so she laid me down in such a way to keep my neck stable. 2 minutes later, a doctor comes along, and within the next 5 minutes, 2 more nurses and a fireman show up. So I have 5 people with medical backgrounds within 7 minutes, virtually in the middle of nowhere. I remember 2 seconds of on the trail, looking up, seeing my friend's face, thinking he was kind of worried. And then after that, I blacked out. The next time I come to, I'm looking up at the bottom of a helicopter with the rotor blades turning, and I'm hanging from this thing by a 100-foot rope. I'm tucked in to this board they have me on. I blacked out again. What they did was they brought the rescue helicopter in treetop level, dropped the rope down, hooked me up, and then dropped me off in that parking lot a mile and a half away. I remember maybe 30 seconds of the ambulance ride, blacked out after that. Came to, the next time I come to, I open my eyes, and I'm in a cream-colored tube with a red light going around. It happened to be a CAT scan machine in real life, I found out. I blacked out again. And then I fully came to 9:30 at night. It's about 7 hours after the accident. And this time I have doctors and nurses around me, but they're saying, can you wiggle your fingers and toes? Typically what happens is, for a C2 fracture like that, that first real column will slide forward or backward, and it severs your spinal cord, and right below the spinal cord is where the nervous system breaks off for your breathing. So typically if you sever that, that's it, game over, you stop breathing. In my case, because it broke away from the spinal cord in both directions, it had no effects whatsoever on my spinal cord, and so they were able to treat me from there. The doctors were saying in the emergency room, if we were to look for you based on this x-ray, we would look for you in the morgue, not the emergency room. it is only because it's a miracle event that I'm alive. And what they did was they put me in traction. They put a halo on my head, which is what these scars are from. There's also 2 more in the back here. And they put on 5, 10, 15, and 20 pounds to try and stretch the bone out to allow it to go back into place. So the surgeon came in on a Tuesday, and he shows me the plate they're going to put in my neck, describes the surgery to me, and he happens to say my specialty is C3 to C5, but I've done about 30 C2 surgeries. 2 days after that, I was released out of the hospital, and 3 months later, I got the halo off, and just like I'm promised, I had a complete and full recovery. There's no other reason except for God, who intervened in my life and somehow through his sovereignty brought doctors, nurses, and firemen to the scene of the accident within minutes of it happening and provided the right people in the right place at the right time. There's no other way to call that except for a God incidence or a miracle, because he is in the miracle working business. And that particular day, he did a miracle in my life. He saved myself, who was just a regular person who loves God, who unfortunately, even though I was trying to be safe, went over a cliff. And that day, he was the one that worked a miracle in my life. It's not about you. It's not about what you can do to get to him. It's not about what you've done in your past. It's about what God did in the past. It's about what he's already done to free you from the sin that's in your life and to free you from the bondage that you may be in. The halo, I think, is like bondage, because you're basically stuck like this for 3 months. You want to look to the side, you have to use your eyes. You might be able to turn your whole body, but it's based like a body cast right from your head to your waist. And it's like you're in bondage. And after I got that halo off, it was such an incredibly freeing feeling. It was like God took the sin of my life and just took it right off of me. And it could be like that in your life. Maybe there's bondage in your life, that the sin that's holding you back, but God wants to free you from that. It's not about you, it's about what he's already done to free you from that bondage. My name is Ryan, and I am changed.